So how are things going?
It's tough.
Mike Wood is a third-generation farmer in California's San Joaquin Valley. He grows 200 hectares of almond trees. But recently, he's been thinking of selling the ranch.
Yeah, the consideration of sale has been right in the front of the gray matter for quite some time, actually.
This valley is a cornucopia of agricultural plenty. Rich soil and a benign climate produced a vast bounty of meat, milk, vegetables, fruits, and nuts. But global warming is changing the valley.
2021 was the second driest year on record.
While some years are wetter than others, repeated drought strains the capacity of an elaborate system of canals and reservoirs that bring water from far away. It's getting hotter, too. The valley hit a record 45 degrees Celsius in September.
Land where fruits or vegetables might be grown would be left idle.
It's not unusual to see sites like this, entire orchards ripped up and ground into mulch. These effects aren't unique to California.
China, Russia, Nigeria, Brazil, all over the world have their own localized impacts. But the one thing in common is that global warming is causing those impacts, and humans are causing global warming.
Scientists say some of the world's most important breadbasket regions are also the most at risk of failure due to climate shocks.
Persistent drought and extreme temperatures here in California and other farming regions around the world raise an important question about the future of our species. How can an ever-warming planet feed a human population that is expected to grow from 7.9 billion today to nearly 10 billion by mid-century?
Simply expanding farmland won't do. The more forests are cut down, the worse global warming gets. Scientists say we must adapt or starve.
Our ability to be able to feed the planet is going to require some wholesale changes, both in how we produce food and how we share food across the planet. It's going to require that we probably change our diet and move more towards a plant-based diet.
This is the emitter.
Mike Wood is optimistic that technology will provide a solution.
When I talk about the technology, I'm talking about the ability to produce 50% to 100% more than we did on the same acre 40 years ago.
Hope for the future in a time of climate uncertainty.
Welcome back to Seed Time and Harvest. Today we're at Brother Jesus and Sister Kathleen's house, helping them with their garden.
So here we have some runoff clay from this hillside, and this was brought down by my brother Jesus' neighbor. The Lord brought all this soil over here, and as the rain came, it started running it down. As you can see over there on the hillside, it's very rocky, so you can't really use that soil. But down here, it has been sifted and all the rocks stayed over there. The rain pushed it all down, and this is going to be a perfect layer that we're going to put on top of all of the wood and pine needles and all of those things that we put inside the raised bed. This will be a great topper before we put in that compost and that good soil.
I'm just gonna make some rows at the end of this garden to put in some spinach, some beets, and I have also radishes. Just have to find them. These are all organic heirloom seeds. Just a good variety. It's too hot for lettuce. There's a lot of lettuce here, a lot of good variety. That and that's it. And these are good to buy. These heirloom seed packets, you can get them on Amazon. They have a lot of seeds in them. It doesn't say how many seed packets are in this one, but in the Mylar bag that it's in, of course, they have a 25-year germination rate at 96%. And these are not hybrid, and they're no GMO, open pollinated, and pesticide free. And it's liquidirt.com. So I'm trying to go through here. Okay, found the spinach, found carrots, and there should be, actually, yep, there should be beets. I have to find the beets. Okay. Those things, it's easier. Those plants, your spinach, your radish, beets, these are best to plant them directly in the soil because they don't do well with transplanting. Even your carrots, they don't do well with transplanting. So just gonna make a small row. You can use a piece of stick or use your hand to make a nice row for your seeds. Just a straight line. About 4 to 5 inches apart. With the beets, if you plant them bungled, it doesn't really matter. They'll just grow on top of each other. Same thing with the carrots. When you plant them in bundle, you'll just thin them out. Now, the only problem with carrots is there's a lot of hindrances in this garden, but they're not that big where the carrot is going to have to redirect itself to go around them. So I'm going to start with the radishes. Okay, and it does show on here, one seed 2 to 3 inches apart. Takes 7 to 20 days for you to be able to harvest them. Germination rate 7 to 20 days. I'm not gonna plant all of them. Just gonna put them in. And then with the radish, 2 to 3 inches apart. Gonna get 2 rows because they are single harvest. Once you harvest the plant, then that's it. So you need a little bit more. Gonna have some left over, so when she harvests those, she'll be able to replant more. And that's the benefit of succession gardening, especially when you are dependent on your garden. Succession gardening, planting every 2 to 3 weeks, will allow you to get a consistent harvest. Next to the radish, I'm going to put in some beets. I'm going to put in 2 rows of beets as well. The beets are not going to be too tall where they will overpower the radish. So by the time the beets starting to come up, the radish would have already been harvested. Now, the best way to plant beets, I find, is to soak the seeds pre-planting. However, if you plant it this way, it will grow, it will germinate, it will just take a little while longer. But if you can soak your seeds overnight, you give them a better chance of germinating. And your beets grow as a cluster. So even in one seed of your beets, you have about 2 or 3 plants that are going to come out of that one seed. There's not a way to plant the beets individually. So we have 2 rows of beets. Then I'm going to put in some spinach, add a little bit of greens to the mix. When you're plant-based, you do a lot of juicing, and spinach as a juice is very good for you, even eating it in salad. And these as well, they don't take a long time to grow. These are the noble giants. I'm going to give them a little bit more space, but I'm still going to plant 2 rows. If you notice, I'm not covering my rows. I need to get a marker to be able to mark my plants to see where they are, so I know Okay, this is where I planted the beets. This is where I planted the spinach. And then the final thing I'm gonna put in are some carrots. And I'm gonna have just the final row with carrots. Of course, you always want to know what you're putting in the ground. So we have spinach, we have beets, carrots, and then radish. So carrots go to the end, spinach, and it's going to sit in the middle of the rows, okay? And then we have radish. And then we're just going to lightly cover because these are all shallow roots. So just lightly, you can see where I put the seeds. You don't want to plant them too deep. Too deep, the seeds will rot, and too shallow, and the birds will come and pick them out. So just lightly cover, especially the radish and the carrots. You don't want it to be too deep. And then the final thing we're going to do to this garden is to add some water. And that's it. We're done. Thank you so much for joining us on Seed Time and Harvest. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and to share this video. Leave a comment if you have one, and happy planting. Bye.